In full disclosure, just so that you're aware, I'm with a consulting company now. When this research was done, I just swallowed water and it went down wrong. When I conducted this research, I was the chief academic officer at an online university that offered master's degrees in education. So this was conducted in an academic setting, in an education setting. I wasn't doing it as a paid consultant. I was at the time an employee of the school. So full disclosure on that. All right, online learning, distance learning isn't new. Even though today's media makes us think that it's this brand new phenomena, it's been around since the 1800s. People participated in distance learning with correspondence schools, writing letters back and forth to each other, so on and so forth. When that happened, faculty members at universities were outraged, like a lot of them are now when we're putting classes online. Because, how will the students learn if I don't talk at them? And we have moved from the correspondence with traditional booklets being passed back and forth, and it's gained traction. College administrators loved it. The military loved distance education, as we know. People that didn't live near a college loved it. Still, faculty members were outraged. They said, how are the students going to learn? Michael Moore determined there's 3 types of interactions that happen in any type of class. There's the student-instructor interaction, which we basically know what that is. There's student-student interaction, and there's student-content interaction. All right, student-instructor interaction happens when faculty members give assignments, when faculty members give feedback, when students and faculty members are discussing questions about content or about assignments. In the case of online learning, it also happens with personal correspondence, as many of us know. Nope. Student-student interaction happens when students are talking to each other, when they're passing notes back and forth, when they meet together to form study groups, and when they provide peer feedback. I'm going to keep just hitting this, just in case it comes back up. Student content interaction. Student content interaction is when your students are actually doing something. In the context of this study, we set up our classes so that everything was project-based. Our students did not take multiple choice quizzes. Our students didn't write random essays. They were working on master's degrees in education. They created projects every week or every other week related to the content area. If they were majoring in administration, they created document handbooks for their faculty members. They created satisfactory academic progress reports for fictional students during case studies. If they were majoring in guidance and counseling, they were given a case study of different students and issues they were having and created a remediation and plan for them. All right, so why study interaction? Who cares? Well, we all care. Interaction is what happens in a class. I had a student, Maureen. She enrolled to get her master's degree when she was 48 years old. Her goal was to graduate prior to turning 50, because getting a master's was her dream, and she would then become the full-time principal at her school. When she found out that she was required to take education law, she called me. She said, I have no desire to take education law. I think it's boring. I think it's ridiculous. And what can I do to not have to take it? She volunteered to bribe me. But she worked at a private school, and I knew she didn't have enough money, and besides, I wouldn't take a bribe. So she called me the first week and said, I'm not really happy, but I'm going to call you and gripe every week of the semester. I'm like, cool, I'm here, Maureen. Call me. Here's my cell phone if you want to call me at home, whatever. I didn't hear from her again until the last week of the semester. She called me up, and she goes, I'm so embarrassed that I called you before I enrolled in the class, and I'm so embarrassed about the things I said. This is one of the best classes I've ever taken. I learned so much. Frank, who was the instructor. Frank and I had awesome conversations every week. He was able to either validate what I said or give me ideas on how to increase my learning. Tony, who was one of the students in the class, was able to work with me on discussion boards on 3 of the projects we had to do. And it was really cool getting his insight because he's from a public school and I'm from a private school. We learned a lot from each other. Then she finishes up with that final project where basically what they had to do was create this whole legal issues presentation and documentation for a K-12 staff to teach them some basics about legal issues. She goes, that was awesome. I'm starting off our professional development pre-service day next year with my presentation. And so then Maureen and I sat and chit-chatted, and I was like, okay, great. I got off the phone and was talking to a colleague, and she goes, the colleague said to me, well, what do you think it was about the class? She liked all these different things, and that's when I thought, there was the 3 types of interactions. She enjoyed all of them. She saw benefit in all of them. But which one really helped? What can we take from Maureen to make all of our courses better? All right, so I had 2 research questions. The first research question is, I'll read the whole thing. It's really long and I apologize. Is there a statistically significant degree of differences or variations in student-instructor, student-student, or student content interaction and student perceived achievement in an online graduate course in the field of education? Second question, same thing, insert student satisfaction for student achievement. So basically, which of these types of interactions is going to influence achievement or perceived achievement and satisfaction? There were 300 students that are K-12 teachers or administrators in our program. So those 300 students were the participants. What we did was basically, I'm going off the slides now because it's not coming back within a lot of time. All right, so what we did basically is we surveyed the students at the end of every course. There were questions about course content, there was questions about the instructor, there were questions about working on the discussion board with each other. I threw in some questions that were related to Archer and Anderson's sense of community, because that was going to relate more to student-student interaction as well. Took all of the results and analyzed them. And actually, I'm going to give you, I lied, I'm not going off. Some of the questions included things like, the instructor treated me as an individual. I had adequate opportunity to communicate with my instructor. I knew what was expected of me. Increased contact with the fellow students helped me get more out of this course. I felt that I shared a sense of community with my classmates, and I was able to share learning experiences with others. And then relating to content, I learned to interrelate the important issues in the course material. I developed the ability to communicate about the topic. And I improved the ability to integrate facts about the topic into my teaching. What happened? I took all of the results, analyzed them using regression analysis and correlation. The regression analysis showed by far that the student-instructor interaction has the greatest impact on both achievement and satisfaction in the course. Remember, I started off describing that all of our assignments are project-based. The students did not take any type of auto-graded quizzes. They were required during their program to do 2 proctored exams. Those proctored exams all included like 4 or 5 multiple choice questions and then an essay that was graded by the instructor as well. And that essay had to relate to your personal experience. So there was nothing auto-graded, nothing generic. So that was part of why the instructor played such a big role, because there was personal feedback going back and forth every week, sometimes more than every week in the case of some students. So student-instructor interaction had the most influence. Student content interaction had the second most influence. Most of the students responded that the assignments led them to be able to integrate the facts more frequently, more clearly, and more articulately into their teaching and learning situations. Most of the students said that the assignments related to not only the coursework, but what they were doing in their classroom, as well as what they were aspiring to do once they got their degree. This is where the oddity happened. We thought that the content was good. We knew that the interaction with the faculty was good. The students all said, yes, we can talk with each other. The students said, yes, I had an opportunity, I shared things each week. Student-student interaction, when we did the regression analysis, had the least effect on both student achievement and student satisfaction. When we did a correlational analysis, there was actually a slight negative effect of student-student interaction on student perceived achievement. So when I was discussing this with one of my colleagues, we decided that we really shouldn't let the students talk to each other because they apparently felt they got dumber that way. But if you relate it to what happens in a face-to-face course, you have random conversations that start happening in a face-to-face course between students that may or may not have an impact on what they're learning. It may be more of a, can you explain this? Can you explain that? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Whereas when you have the conversations with the instructor, it's always guided towards the content, the objectives, and the outcomes. All right, so what does this mean? This means 2 or 3 different things. This means that we really need to focus when we create online courses on ensuring that there is faculty interaction with our students on a frequent basis. I know that in the United States, if you're a school that is participating in the Title IV federal financial aid program, you have to document the substantive interaction in your online courses. You know what? You shouldn't have to document it. It should just be happening. You can do that easily. Having your instructors provide feedback, having your instructors hop on the discussion boards, having your instructors personalize information to your students. It also means that we need to look at creating course content that is engaging and interactive. You know, Mr. Anderson that was speaking earlier was talking about the collaboration that occurs and getting away from transmitting information. That correlates with this. We need to create course content where students are actually creating products based on those new skills and facts that they're learning. When they're doing that, they're going to be more engaged. They're going to perceive that they achieve more, because when you create something, you actually have that final product that you can see all the work that went into it, as opposed to having your test with a big A+ smiley face on it. And when our students graduate, they're going to be working with other people. It's very rare that you work alone and never interact with anyone. So we need, when we create our online courses, to create some meaningful activities where our students do interact with each other, but in a meaningful way, not just to demonstrate interaction. How am I doing on time? Because
you got 5 minutes.
Oh, awesome. Okay. It also means that we need to put a variety of activities, a variety of types of interactions in our courses. A caveat. Remember, these were all graduate students in the field of education. They all had a specific degree they were working on to get a different type of licensure or to be promoted. So these students may not relate to an undergraduate student that's in his or her first year of school that just knows they want a bachelor degree because that's what somebody told them they needed to get. But having these students at that level take control of their own learning is going to help them not only realize what they want to learn, but give them some skills to be able to learn in both an online and a face-to-face environments.